Welcome back to Golf Xtra. Payne Stewart was one of the most beloved and eccentric golfers in his time, having captured the hearts and minds of fans throughout the golf world with his stellar play and unique clothing. Unfortunately for him, his career met a tragic end when he was only 42 years old in a terrible accident, which leaves fans wondering what really happened to Payne Stewart and what could have been if not for tragedy. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Now let's get right into the story of what really happened to Payne Stewart. Payne Stewart is mostly remembered for his incredible golfing abilities. In fact, he won 3 major championships and 21 other professional tournaments in his career. However, his fellow golfers remember him for his one-of-a-kind personality. Fellow PGA Tour golfer Jim Furyk said about Stewart, "If Payne was around, he wasn't going to let you mope or hang your head and pout. If that was the case, he was going to give you some crap and wear you out a little bit, tease you, poke fun. He was just a fun-loving guy, and a guy who seemed to always have a good time. That's what I remember. When I was around Payne, I was always laughing. If I was upset about something, he changed my outlook on my day." Payne's easygoing nature was evident in his comments after tournament wins as well, as when he said after his first U.S. Open win at Hazleton in 1991, "It was a grind all day. I didn't quit, and it showed me if I ever quit, I'm an idiot, because a lot of funny things can happen on the way to the clubhouse." The win was a grind for Stewart, who needed a final hole bogey from Scott Simpson to even force a playoff, which he won with the score of 3 over par. But Stewart wasn't always as good-humored as he was in those post-tournament interviews. When he needed to, he brought out the toughness, as evidenced by what David Love III had to say about a pep talk that he received from Stewart back at the 1999 Ryder Cup. According to Love's retelling, he and Stewart were paired up for matches in the final day of the event, and Stewart apparently wanted a bit more drive and passion out of Love, who said, "The night before, Payne gets in my face a little bit and he says, 'I need some more enthusiasm and passion out of you.' What he was telling me is he likes to get excited and fire up the crowd and play with passion, and he just saw me as a guy who kind of meekly played along." Love continued, "So we get out there and I tried my best. We got to the 17th hole and I had not been playing great, but we were either even or 1 down. He drove it out there nice and I hit it in the bunker. I was disappointed, but I didn't want to hang my head and walk up to the green. So I said, I tell you what, Payne, you get it anywhere on the green and I will make it. It was a hard bunker shot, but he got it out to like 10 feet and I poured it in. Gave it a big fist pump and he came up and he was poking me in the chest and he goes, 'That's what I'm talking about.'" Therein lies the magic of Payne Stewart. He not only made golf fun, but he also made his fellow golfers better. Not only that, but he still had fun, as Love notes in concluding his story. "From then on, I knew how to be a better teammate. He gave me a great lesson. We ended up winning on Sunday, and he had on red, white, and blue pajama pants standing on the piano smoking a cigar." Stewart's most famous golfing accomplishment was likely the 1999 U.S. Open held at Pinehurst Resort's famous course number 2. The tournament challenged the best players in the game, and Stewart was up to it. His playing partner in the early rounds of the tournament, Stuart Appleby, said later, "Payne loved to pick a fight with the golf course, and the U.S. Open is the biggest, baddest course there is. You could see his game was sharp, and he was in a very competitive mood." Stewart gave it everything he had, holding off Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, and Vijay Singh en route to his 3rd major championship. Not only that, but he closed out the tournament with a 15-foot par putt on the final hole to avoid a playoff. After the tournament, Stewart said, "I can't describe it. Everything just bubbles up inside of you and all of a sudden, it's over. You did it. I did it again. I said to myself, you've always wanted a putt to win the U.S. Open, and you got it right now. Lo and behold, it went in." Despite the triumphant feeling that he no doubt felt, Stewart contended that his first ever professional win was still his favorite of his career, as it was the only one that his father was on hand to witness. Stewart said, "If I'm fortunate enough to win more majors or more golf tournaments, the 82 Quad Cities will still be my most cherished victory. That will never change." Unfortunately for Stewart, the 1999 U.S. Open was his last victory as a professional, as only 4 months later, tragedy struck. While he was a passenger on a private jet traveling from Orlando to Houston, Stewart and his fellow passengers were incapacitated when the aircraft failed to pressurize. Set on autopilot, the plane kept on flying until it ran out of fuel, crashing into a field near Mena, South Dakota. John Hoffman, a farmer whose land the plane crash landed on, told the story of that day in an interview years later, saying, "One of my neighbors came racing over to where we were to let me know that a plane had crashed on my land. I jumped in his truck and went to get my brother. He and I then drove down to the site, and by the time we got there, the gravel road closest to the field was a huge line of looky-loos. The police were blocking people off and diverting traffic away. I told them it was my farm, and after a bit of toing and froing, they let me in. As we got closer, we could see little bitty fires on the ground and metal chunks lying everywhere. It looked like the plane had fractured like an ice cube. Still unclear about the situation, Hoffman was eventually able to discern the significance of the crash to the golf world, and as it turns out, to his own life. He continued his story by saying, "It wasn't long before we found out that Mr. Stewart had been on board. It was hard to wrap your head around. It still is. A couple of months earlier, I'd been at my father's bedside in the hospital as he fought cancer, and together, we'd watched Mr. Stewart win the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Now he was gone and on my property. None of it made any sense." The tragedy put a sudden end to what was an incredible career, and one that no doubt had more to give. As it turns out, though, Stewart's impact didn't end with his death, as fans are still drawn to pay their respects to their golfing hero even today. As Hoffman says, "We get a lot of people who come and visit, and I'm happy to escort them down there so they can pay their respects. Some people leave flowers. I remember one guy left a flat cap like Mr. Stewart would wear. I guess that shows you what kind of man he was, that strangers would want to come here and visit." You know, a lot of Payne Stewart is there, in that ground. He's part of it now. It feels only right that it should be a memorial for him and the others who died that day. While he's not a pro golfer, Hoffman's stories eulogize Stewart in a fitting way, capturing not only his skill but also the way he made those who love golf feel, saying, "I play myself, so I know only too well how hard it is to be good at golf. I'm 60 now, and I'm still trying to get better. I go on YouTube and watch lessons and stuff. I can hit a ball pretty good, but he was one of the best. You know, people thought the world of him, myself included. He was a legend of the game. He is a legend of the game. More than 20 years on, and here we are still talking about him. He's never going to be forgotten." Comment with your thoughts and make sure to subscribe for more content like this. We'll catch you in the next one.